Hi fellas, welcome to today's tropical update for June 20th, 2017. As you can see here, another update, but this time it's on the Atlantic side. The Atlantic's gone pretty busy, especially at this time of year. We had this tropical wave, which now is Bert. Bert came from a pretty strong, robust tropical wave that came off of Africa probably about a week ago, and has developed pretty good in favorable conditions, as you can see here. And yeah, had a very well defined structure yesterday, and now you can see that it actually affected the northern coasts of Venezuela, as you can see here, and some parts of the Lesser Antilles, as you can see here. Pretty much, yeah, did affect both islands. Now it's tropical storm watches for the ABC Islands, as you can see here, and probably the northern coasts of the Colombian Peninsula right here, and this peninsula near the A Island over here. So yeah, they have to keep an eye on this, because this thing's on a very southerly storm track. You can see here, this thing's on a very southerly storm track, as you can see here. Its structure, it's doing fine. The only thing is that it's already running into wind shear. That's the issue for this thing. Plus, it's pretty small. It's not that big. As you can see here, this thing, as you can see here, this thing grew in size a little. Well, I noticed that in the last couple of hours, the thunderstorms are now starting to be a little bit displaced to the north of where the center is. The center's down here where the circulation is, and I noticed the thunderstorms are now starting to run away from the center. Well, I do believe it's because of the wind shear that's coming out of that direction. Sorry about that. That's coming out of that direction over here. There's actually a lot of wind shear up here, if you never noticed. And this is the forecast plot from the National Hurricane Center. As you can see here, notice that the storm's down here. You can note that tropical storm watches are now issued for the ABC Islands, except for these folks down here. But still, they may get affected by gusty winds. ABC Islands now in tropical storm watches. They may have to deal with nasty weather from this system, at least for a few couple of hours, because this thing's moving westward towards... It's moving west-northwest, 23 miles per hour. That's pretty fast. So literally, it's gonna scorch these islands pretty quickly before heading into the Caribbean. Well, it's in the Caribbean. Before reaching the Central Caribbean, where it's not favorable. Well, it's because we have a big upper trough sitting over here, somewhere over here, and it's causing the wind shear. Also, this time of year, we have pretty strong trade winds in the Caribbean, so it's not that favorable for any tropical development, and it's also not favorable to get storms going when they enter this area, especially when they're strengthening. And this storm's pretty rare. Actually, came from Africa. It's actually the earliest storm on record to ever form out here in the main development region. We usually look for that area by the end of July and in early August. That's where we look for that area. That's where we start to look for that area for development. And as you can see here, 2 p.m. right here. Tomorrow morning it'll be probably past the ABC Islands. 8 p.m. Wednesday, and already depression or running low by Thursday morning. It should be gone by Thursday. The models have been showing that in the last couple of days. And this is the 2 p.m. update. Now, that's probably it for this storm. And yeah, we also got what should be Tropical Storm Cindy. This thing just developed according to the 2 p.m. update of the National Hurricane Center. You can clearly see, look at this low. Now, this is a classic June storm, because all of the thunderstorms are all over the northern side, the eastern side. It's a giant blob of mess over here that we have right here. The structure is pretty good. You can see the well-defined center. Pretty much, the center is having trouble. It's actually wobbling a bit, but I've noticed that in the 2 p.m. update, the movement has changed. In the last update, it was moving in that direction at 10 miles per hour. Now it's stationary. It's not going to move for the next several hours, or maybe a whole day, if it's correct. Because you can see here the National Hurricane Center has the cone heading that way towards Houston or Galveston, Texas, or western parts of Louisiana. You can see tropical storm warnings have been issued for these folks down here along New Orleans, coming down to Mobile, Alabama, and all coming all the way down to the extreme eastern side of Texas, and tropical storm watches have been issued for Houston and Galveston, Texas, as you can see here. And yeah, the storm was doing pretty good. You see all this that I'm circling right here, that's actually dry air trying to get entrained into the storm, and all of the actions well into the east and northeast of the system. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good organization. Yeah, pretty much. And as you can see here, there's like very heavy rains coming into parts of the as you can see here, there's like very heavy rain coming into the parts of the south, like literally. Actually, the bullseye is somewhere near New Orleans. They can get up to about a foot of rain when this thing's all said and done, like literally. And this thing is like about a day away from landfall. As you can see here, the cone has a landfall by a few days out, as you can see. So yeah, it has a pretty serious situation right now, because you can see here, became the 3rd named storm of the season, just behind Bret just a day ago. And yeah, pretty unusual to see something in the Atlantic this time of year. I mean, we haven't seen that much of it. Only happened twice in the past, because this is not usually, we don't usually see 2 named storms at the same time in June. Usually it's mostly one. Almost all the time it's one by itself. So yeah, pretty cool and interesting to watch these 2 systems trying to get going at the same time in June. Pretty interesting to see. And Sydney, yeah, Sydney's the next name on the list. This thing just got named at the 2 p.m. advisory, as you can see here. You can clearly see Sydney right there. Sydney. Clearly see Sydney right there. Sydney. As you can see here. You can clearly see it. You can clearly see it, as you can see here. You can see Bret and Sydney, as you can see here. Pretty interesting to see how these 2 names, as you can see here, pretty interesting how these 2 named storms have developed at this time of year. And as you can see here, this is the cone from the National Hurricane Center. Yeah, sorry about that. Here's the cone from the National Hurricane Center. You can clearly see it's positioned at 25.9 north, 90.5 west. That's the current location. That's where the center of the storm is, and all the action is to the east of this system. East, northeastern quadrant, and southeastern quadrant, as you can see here. And pretty nice structure, as I showed you. Now, Tropical Storm